Hello, everybody. How are you all doing today? This is Dorothy, and this is Dorothy's blog. This is where I come to tell my story every week or every other week. So, today, I'm going to continue. I'm going to tell you another fantastic story of what happened with me here in America. But before then, I just want to go back to what I shared yesterday. Yeah, yesterday I shared about how I can never trust people again. When I shared that video, somebody reached out to me. A friend of mine was like, "So you don't trust me?" So no, that's not the issue. I am not talking about just trusting people like that, but I mean when it has to be something important, when it has to do with something very important, it's very hard for me to trust. I kid you not, I will not trust. Mm-mm. Excuse me, I will not trust anybody. I won't. And I keep telling my children, I said, don't trust anybody except me or yourselves. And that's to some extent because people grow up with their siblings, and then at your adulthood your siblings start acting strange to you. So at that point, are you supposed to trust them again? No. But if God bless you with good siblings who grew up with you and they're still showing signs of sincerity, then of course, absolutely, you have to trust them. But if you have toxic siblings, then you have to run for your life. I was listening to a story today on Daddy Freeze, and this lady was talking about how her family always take money from her, how they always, excuse me, how they always manipulate her and get money from. She didn't actually use the word manipulate. She said her family always get money from her, and her mom is the one that's always, engineering everything, telling her to give them, give them, give them, and her mom would tell her, "Don't worry, when you get married, you'll be fine. Once you get married, they're going to leave you. They're going to let you be with your family. So for now that you're not married, you can just help them." And this young lady said she's been sending a lot of money to them. At a point, she said she had to fly her mother to China for treatment, and her elder brother in China asked her to bring the mother. "Oh, do everything. I'll pay you when you get here. Buy the ticket, do everything, do the visa fee. When you get here, I'll pay you." She said she spent over 10 million naira in that trip, buying the tickets and going there. And then when she finally got there, she left the mother there and came back. And this mother was there for a whole month, and still the brother up there did not send her to the hospital. So she ended up bringing the mother back to Nigeria for her to be treated. And people online were like, "No, you're in a toxic family. You need to take yourself out of there." And this girl said, "No." She said, "No, I'm not in a toxic family. I love my family." And it got to a point, somebody said, "I think this girl is inside a bottle." If you're African, you understand what I mean. They said, "I think this girl is being manipulated. I think this girl is in a bottle. Somebody is, holding her down spiritually, because she's not talking like she needs to talk." This is a very intelligent girl, very smart girl. But look at her talking like she doesn't have anything up there. So that is how people can manipulate you. They can turn you from being smart to being foolish. Everybody who knew me or who knows me know that I'm not a foolish woman. But how these people were able to, bend me and twist me, and, were able to do what they did. And as soon as they got the law backing them, they treated me the way they wanted. Up till now. Up till now. They act like I'm crazy. They'll act like I'm the bad person. They act like I'm this and I'm that. So that's why it's hard for me to trust people. It's hard. You have to be very, very, very. How would I even say it? I can trust. It's hard, and I'm making this video because I wanted my friend to see it. It's not that I don't trust you as a friend, but it's hard for me to build that trust, to be able to, completely trust anybody because of what if somebody can manipulate you and get your chart from you, how else can you trust anybody else? I mean, you'll be inhuman if you still go on trusting people after what happened to me happened. So I'm just putting it out there. I'm not saying that it's not good to trust people, but I'm saying be careful how you trust people. Be careful who you trust. Just be careful. Make sure it is somebody that that can live up to that expectation. Trust is not meant for everybody. So regardless of how I say it, people are still going to have trust issues. So it's on you now to be able to protect yourself. Because the way I am right now, I don't think anybody can manipulate me anymore. I've gotten my own share of manipulation, and that's it. It can happen again. Even if my parents should come down from their graves and say, do this, I will look at it and I will take it with a pinch of salt. That's how bad it is. And I'm not being stupid. I'm not being inhuman, or I'm not being mean, but I'm just saying how it is. So please, please, please be careful how you trust. I'm still saying it. Be careful how you trust. So having said this, I'm going to jump into the story of today. So today I'm going to talk about the period where I lived in a haunted house. Mm-hmm. Haunted house. I don't even know how to do this. Is it? Yeah, haunted house. I lived in a haunted house. So this was the period that I just came back from Kansas, and I rented this place from a Nigerian man, a Yoruba man, a pastor to be precise. The first day I saw him, he was like, God will bless this home. God will bless this house. You will live here in peace. You will not carry any dead body out of this house. Blah, 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 blah. You know how our Nigerian pastors pray. When they pray, you think they are talking directly to God, and that God will do what they said. So he made all that fantastic prayer, and I moved in with my children. So things was going on fine. Everything was fine. At that point, I was kind of stable financially. I was getting out of the woods, but I was still in the woods. So it was a tough time for me, but I was at least able to pay my rent at that particular time, because there were times that I couldn't pay rent, so that they kept throwing me out of the house, and it happened many times, and that's why I'm going to make a video of the story of how I lived in over 50 places in America. Yeah. So I moved moved into this house, and things were good. Everything was fine until after a few months, my neighbor downstairs called me and said, Madam, are you living with anybody upstairs apart from your children? I said, no. He said, okay, when you go to work, there's nobody visiting you that stays in the house. I said, no. She said, but when you leave the house around 11, 12 in the afternoon, we hear footsteps, because they lived downstairs. So they will hear anything that happens upstairs. She said, we hear footsteps around that time, and it stops around 3, sometimes around 4, and sometimes earlier. But this is every day. And I said, what could that be? I said, nobody lives here with me. But before then, I had always noticed that whenever I come back, I see splash of water all over my bathtub, because I'm a very meticulous person. I always say that, and I'm not ashamed to say that. People will say that is too extreme, but that's just me. So when we use the shower in the morning, I mean my children and I always clean the shower walls, the tub. I mop everything clean, so it's always clean, dry. Supposed to be dry. But sometimes when I come back in the evening, I see splash of water here and there. And I said, okay, maybe I didn't do it well. But that kept bothering me. Like, why would I always come back every evening and there'll be splashes of water all over the tub? I said, okay, maybe some pipes are leaking or something. Until that woman told me that. She said, somebody comes to your house. He said, it's not even one person. We think it's 2 or 3. So I went to the pastor. I called the pastor, the owner of the house, and I said, sir, is there anything you need to tell me about this house? I said, because it's like somebody comes into my house when I'm not here. He said, madam, sorry, I didn't tell you. Sorry. That's why I was praying that day for that place. That place is actually a haunted house. So I'm sorry, I didn't tell you. I said haunted house. He said it just to scare me. And I was like, haunted house? I said, okay, why don't the ghosts come in the night when I'm there? Why would they come in the daytime when I'm not there? He said, maybe they are scared of you. He said it in such a joking way, and that was it. So this lady kept telling me, because after she told me the first time, I kept asking her every day I come back, did the person come? He said, yes. Did they come? He said, yes. And that time, like I said, I was trying to stabilize myself financially. So I couldn't afford to take a day off work. So I must go to work every day. So there was nothing I could do. I just kept living with that thought that somebody comes to my house. And sometimes I see the living room or maybe a pillow here and there missing or on the floor. And I'd be like, I said, okay, maybe, the last minutes of us leaving, maybe one of the twins must have kicked it to the floor. That's what all I had on my mind until it got to a point that it became so scary. I felt so bad, but I couldn't do anything because the landlord said it's a haunted house. So I intensified my prayer. I prayed every day before I left the house. I pray every night. I was like, whomever is in this house, I command you to leave this house because I am in charge of this house now. I say I pay the rent and I have to live in this house in peace. And I kept saying that every time I'm leaving for work. So this particular day, I left for work. And when I was going to work, I encountered a problem with my car. I got on New York Avenue. Then I walked in on Michigan Street in DC. So I was going to turn to the area of my job on New York Avenue, and suddenly I couldn't hold the brake of my car anymore. This is another story, guys. This is another wonderful story. So I couldn't hold the brake of my car, and the car kept going. I tried to brake the car, it was not braked, it kept going. And luckily for me that day, it was not a busy day. It's unlike, New York Avenue at that time. But that day, I don't know what happened. So as the car was going, not on high speed though, the car was just going. So what I did was I put my hands on the horn, and I just kept blaring my horn, like warning people that I can't stop the car. So I kept blaring my horn, and I noticed the police vehicle was coming from the opposite side. And the next thing I noticed that, how they can just climb the curb and, cross over to another lane. The next thing is that the man just came, drove beside me and said, "Ma'am, I'm going to go front. When I go there, hit the car." And I thought this was only seen in movies. So the police car went ahead of me, went in front of me. And since I wasn't going too fast, I hit his car. And that was the only way he could stop my car. So when I stopped the car, I just lost it. And this policeman came in, came and asked me to turn off the engine. I turned off engine and he was asking me questions. Are you okay? What happened? Trying to see if I was drunk or something. And I said, no, I'm fine. I said, I'm just going to work and this is what happened. I just lost control of the car. I mean, the brake is no longer working. So he said, okay, what do you want to do now? I said, I can't touch this car anymore. I said, I can't. I was crying, and my children were there, looking confused. They were around 4 years old then, close to 4. No, 4 years old, because we came back from Kansas before they turned 4. So they were like around 4 years old then. So I was just crying because, coupled with the stress I was going through at work and everything, in those days, whenever anybody says anything to me, I start crying. So I was just crying and talking to the policeman. So he was like, okay, calm down, come out. So I came out of the car. He brought the children out of the car, and he asked us to go into his car. I don't know why. At first I thought I was under arrest. So he opened the back door, and we went into the car. And then he came back to my car, and he was able to maneuver my car and drive it to the edge of the road. Then he came back in his car and said, where are you going to? And I told him where I'm going to. So he drove us to work. So when we got to work, I had to call a mechanic that somebody introduced me to. So the mechanic went there and took the car to his garage. So which means that evening I came back in a cab. So in a cab. So before I came back that day, before I left my work, I told my director, I said, I'm going to be late tomorrow because I'm going to go and see what is wrong with this car. Though I had already spoken with the mechanic and he said it will be ready by tomorrow by 12 noon, as long as I can pay for the service, that I can pick it up by 12 noon the next day. So I told my director, I said, I'm going to be late tomorrow because I have to go pick up my car. She said, okay, fine. So that day, I stayed back at home to wait for 12 o'clock. So around 10 o'clock, I got the kids ready, I got myself ready, and we sat in the living room just trying to just relax before we leave the house. So we're just there, and the next thing, and because my children did not make a lot of noise, growing up, my kids were always very quiet. And I'm going to tell that story one day. I'm going to tell that story one day of how my lifestyle and the things that happened to me affected my children. You know, they don't talk, they're very quiet, and it's because of what we went through. So they were just quietly watching TV that day, and the next thing I saw the doorknob move. I'm like, who be trying my doorknob at this time? So it moved again. So I stood up and I went to the door and I stood beside the door, and it moved again. And then the next thing, it just opened. And when it opened, it was the landlord and I facing each other. He was staring at me, I was staring at him. And I said, "What is it, sir? Kilo de, sir." He said, I just, I was in the neighborhood and I felt like using the bathroom. So I said, let me come and use the bathroom. I said, "First of all, sir, this is not an apartment where you have the keys to the house." I said, "I asked you when I moved in here if you had the key to my house, and you said no." I said, "When things started happening in my house, I called you. You said it was a haunted house." I said, "Okay, okay. So what are you doing here?" I said, "And sir, you have been the one coming to my house every day." He couldn't say anything. You know, I was so upset with him that day, and I told him to just go. He left. So apparently, what happened is that this man came and did not see my car outside. So he thought I had gone to work. So he wanted to come in as usual. So when I got to work that day, I was so upset, and I discussed this thing with some of my co-workers. And all of them are Americans. They were like, "No, no, no, don't know the Dorothy. No, Miss Dorothy, you just have to report him. Go to the courthouse and get a restraining order." And I was like, "Courthouse?" Around this time of the day, he said, "Yeah, courthouse is open. The domestic violence area is open 24/7. So go to the courthouse closest to you and place an order. You know, just put a report." So I went to, after I closed that day, I went to pick up I already picked up my car before I went to work. So we came back. I didn't come home. I went straight to the courthouse, and I filed a report, you know, complained and everything. And I came back home. It almost took me like, we got home like almost 10 o'clock that day. So after the whole thing, that same night, they told me they were going to serve him a notice never to come to the house, and then our court hearing will be in 7 days, and he must never come to the house until the court hearing date, or I mean until he comes to the court. So that gave me a kind of relief, and I waited for the court date. So on the court date, he went to the court, and they asked him, and the judge asked him what happened, why he was in my house. And he said, "Oh, Your Honor, I was just passing by and I wanted to use the bathroom. So I said, let me just go there." And the judge said, "No, you have no right to do that. Besides, she said she complained to you when this was happening and you told her it was a haunted house." He said, "Yes, Your Honor, the house was really haunted." And the man said, "By you. It was haunted by you." So the judge was really upset with him. Like, why would you do that to a woman? You know, she's single, she's by herself, and then you just want to trigger up this type of fear in her. That's not right. So, excuse me. So, the judge asked me what I wanted to do, if I still want to continue living there. And I said, "Your Honor, I'm scared at this point. I don't want to continue living there, but I need time to get another place." And the judge said, "Okay, granted." And the judge warned him never to step his foot in that house until I leave. And the judge asked me how many hours, how many days how many months do I need for me to be able to get a house? And I said, "I don't know. I'll just try to get a place as soon as possible." So the judge ordered him never to step into the house. And the judge said, in the meantime, I should not pay for, I think he said a month. Yeah, I think a month. He said I don't need to pay for that month if I've paid. And if I have not paid, I don't need to pay for that month. And he's gonna give me 2 months to try to find a place. And if I think I need more time, I should come back to the courthouse. So I told the judge I'm fine. He said, if you feel you can get a place, come back to court. So that day I went home and I was so upset, and I started talking to people about, getting a place. And luckily for me, not up to 1 week, I got another nice place and I had to move. So why am I bringing this story up? You know, in the course of telling my story, I just want to tell everything that happened around that time that I went through, all the pains that I went through. I trusted this man as a pastor. He was a pastor. This man will never, each time I go to pay my rent, he will be there praying and blessing me. But to think that he will bring a woman, because he normally brought a woman to that house. He didn't come there alone. That day he came, apparently he will come first and then the woman will come later. So that is how I lived in a supposedly haunted house. I lived in a haunted house, which was actually not haunted, but was haunted by the landlord because he wanted to use the place for his mm, extra activity. He was bringing in women there every day. This is a pastor. He was bringing in women to the house that you already rented out to someone. How callous can you be? But you know what? When people see that you're a single woman, they try to lord it over you. They will try to lord it over you. This story is already in my collection, but I want to keep my story alive by bringing out some things sometimes to just put on here. So this is how I lived in that house, and I was able to move out from that house to another place. And up till today, I've actually not seen that pastor. I've not. I pass through that his area every time, and I just smile to myself, and wonder how people can be so callous and dangerous and mean at the same time. So I'm going to stop the story here. Next time, I'm going to tell you the story of how a Nigerian man also bought a car from me, sold it to get me another car, and ended up coming back to take that car. Up till now, he never gave me back my money. So I'm going to tell you that story when next I tell my story. Thank you so much for watching me every day. I truly appreciate you. Until next time, this is Dorothy, and this is my story.